Daniel is part of the exile taken to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. And Daniel chapter 1 and verse 6 says, they were trained in, at least these four people were trained in the language and the literature of the Babylonians. Now think about it. A common Jew would have refused that. Would have said, well, I study the Torah. I don't study these pagan writings. But Daniel and his friends were trained in the language and the literature of the Babylonians. Yes, on one point, Daniel chose to request that he be excluded, not to partake of the king's table. Which means Daniel and his friends must have thought hard. Where would we not compromise? Where can I make a difference? How should I put it across? And then the Bible says in chapter 1, God's favor was upon them, that the chief eunuch gave them those privileges that they asked for. But dear friend, I have a fascinating line in Daniel chapter 1. The Bible says, God gave Daniel and his friends the gifts to understand dreams and interpret dreams. In other words, Daniel and his three friends are reskilled to serve in a Babylonian court. Because God was going to speak to the pagan king who does not know the Torah. God is going to speak to him through a supernatural way. And so these guys are given the skill of understanding and interpreting dreams. So let's not reduce God to a Sunday morning or to a Bible study or a prayer meeting. I think we need to bring our whole careers, our vocation, our learnings to the cross. The God who redeems us and a God who actually is a God of all creation. In other words, He is a God of creation. He is a God of new creation. Okay, He brings in that balance.